expansionary fiscal policy. Shift your IS to the right. Look at LM1 rating. That's your BP. And you realize it's the same as E2, right? Income goes up, but now interest rate goes up. But NX, change in CA pricing, is still 0. Alright, so although you are using fiscal policy, but the effect on the economy, on interest rate is totally non-existent. So at E3, interest rate goes up, but capital account is still 0. But income increase, NX negative. So at E3, BP is a deficit. So your currency, again, weaken in nominal and real terms. I want to put it in, you can put BP negative if you want to. So you don't memorize points at all. You really go to the point, look at income, look at interest rate, and analyze one account at a time. Okay, so capital account still 0, NX negative, currency weaken. So the analysis is the same. Alright, you will actually shift LM up to Y equals to Y1. So I'll skip a few steps. You are here. You know your income has to, your LM has to shift up. Okay, and in this case, I probably have to extend a lot. Right, and I will reach my E3. If you can't draw your E4, doesn't matter. As long as examiner wants to see this answer, LM will shift up, income will drop to Y1. So that is our conclusion. Whether you use fiscal or monetary policy, it totally can't work at all. Fiscal policy will end you at E4. Okay? Your monetary policy will end you off with E1. Okay? So don't spend too much time. This is just to show you both policies are completely ineffective. Right? So this is a message that we will send, for example, to Myanmar. Alright? If she wants to face economic expansion and if she's using fixed exchange rate, she should open her doors to let funds flow in more rapidly, or else all her policies will keep cancelling out each other. The same goes for North Korea. Alright? If she really wants to open her doors, okay, and she wants to execute policies, right? She actually must allow funds to flow in. Then the BP can be flatter. So a vertical BP will result your internal policies to be completely useless. Then you might as well don't trade. You might as well become a closed-door economy. E1 goes to E2, E1 goes to E3. Better still. Right? Okay, so for an economy, as long as you want to open your door, don't do it half-heartedly. This is like allow NX but don't allow funds to flow. You handicap yourself. You might as well be closed door. Okay? Right? But they will be under pressure. I did bring a book. Recently I'm reading books on North Korea. It's very interesting. There was a high pressure for them to open up the doors. The economic system has to change very rapidly for them, which is quite a tremendous revolution for them. Alright, so if you have the time, you can actually Google about it or read on some of the video clips by National Geographic on North Korea. So North Korea, right, opening of the doors is really going to be quite a major event, a world event, because all eyes will look at her. All the economic models may fail. She has to apply her own models if she chooses not to follow. Right? Okay? But if not, then we will just stick back to our basic. Right? We don't need to focus on this discussion because it's a one-off discussion. Okay? So these are talking about extreme cases of vertical and horizontal BP. But now we want to move on to our second focus, upward sloping BP. So don't spend too much time on this analysis. Now let's move on to page 9. So to describe upward sloping BP, we use the term imperfect capital mobility, meaning to say F is positive, but F is not infinity. It's just upward sloping. So as discussed in last week's lecture, right, the mathematical approach shows us that in this case, okay, our slope of BP is m1 over f. So when we say f is positive, then we also must know it can be steeper or flatter. It all depends how we compare the size. So always remember, focus on flatter. If you can't do steeper, it's fine, because this is unrealistic. This don't really happen at all. But for the purpose of doing the diagram in the syllabus, we will run through one round. Okay, right? So in this case, we are doing fixed exchange rate. By now you should know government will buy or sell, right? So it will shift money supply and the LM curve, right? But it will not shift the BP at all, because shift of BP must be due to exchange rate or foreign interest rate. So in this case, we are merely looking at local interest rate and local income. Okay, so this is how your mathematical method will guide you. All we are going to discuss is different slope of BP. You don't shift the BP at all. Alright, because the components, which is your exchange rate, is locked. So you don't have to shift it. Okay, so let's look at the diagram, put in our key points. Okay, E1, I1, Y1. Now, because the diagram will start to look a little bit complicated, and I would suggest this is the time when you can use a different color, especially if you can do it in bold for the BP curve. Or else, the lines will look like very identical, and you will lose track of them yourself. Right, so we're going to look at upward sloping BP, flatter BP, so we know we draw the BP on the right side of the LM. Okay? So we are doing monetary policy, do a sizable shift. Right? Do a sizable shift. As long as can find E2 will do. Mark down your new equilibrium. Okay, so now when I go through analysis, if it's straightforward, I will move ahead. Income goes up, NX negative. Interest rate drop, capital outflow. So both accounts, you don't need to check the size. It's not critical at all. So we know in this case, BP is a deficit. So as you move on with more and more practice and diagrams, you get very used to the momentum, but don't memorize. Everything, just look at the size, add them up. BP is a deficit, okay, and therefore the currency will weaken. So I will do it here, you can read in your notes. So local currency will weaken in real and nominal terms. And we know government will buy. Money supply will increase. LM will have to shift up. Alright, so I will actually stop writing very detailed analysis. You get used to it. Currency is weak, buy up. So in this case at E2, you know your LM will shift up. And you can see interest rate will pick up. Alright? Funds will start to flow in. Income will drop. NX would now also be positive. And you know this will correct until point 1. The amount of funds you leak out, the interest rate will increase to bring it back. The amount of import that went up, income will drop to correct it. And you will reach E1. So there's nothing to draw. Alright, there's really actually nothing to draw because the two accounts were negative and they were fully adjusted to the LM shifting. Government buy up the currency. Okay, now for such diagram, I will not combine it with flexible exchange rate. It gets a bit messy, so we draw separately. Okay, so in this case, I will leave it as just fixed exchange rate. So in this case, you can see, if I am the government, alright, fixed exchange rate is against me. Closed economy, I reach E2. Open economy, I go back to E1. So again, fiscal policy is useless. So that was a case of a